There's some ground rules.
Are they?
Yes.
For me or for both?
No, absolutely
it's
for
me.
you. Yes.
Oh my God.
Are you going to be entertaining? Yes or no, please?
Usually I'm not, but
Try hard today.
I'll try.
Informative?
Oh, definitely. I have a lot of valuable information to share.
Respectful?
I can't promise that, but you can cut it out.
Hello, welcome to this special bonus episode of Impact the World. It is called Unpacking the Tour with Lee and Davor Bozique, who I work with, create music with, and I work with on stage at our workshops and during our Big Love Tour. So, we did a tour called the Big Love Tour. Many of you came out to it. Some of you watched it on live stream. We took it to 9 different countries, 20 shows, served over 14,000 audience members, and then over 20,000 if you include live stream. And it all took place between June of 2024 and we finished on May the 1st in Australia 2025. And it was a really powerful experience. So I have a members community called The Portal. I teach in there every month. I put recordings, audio, video in there. There are other teachers. There's a whole world of things inside the portal to support your growth, your transformation, and how you're living your life, your aligned life. And one of the things I do in there occasionally is something called a video diary, where I will speak a bit more about maybe the things I'm learning and going through. The portal community is a lot smaller than the global audience. So therefore, the video diaries are usually quite intimate and personal. But I've decided to put this one out to the wider world for a couple of reasons. So I wrote to my portal members as we started the tour, the final leg in New Zealand and Australia, and I said, Davor and I are going to be together on tour. Do you have any questions for us about touring in general, about the Big Love Tour that we've just done, about the way we create our music? And the day after the tour ended, in my hotel room in Melbourne, Davor and I sat down and went through as many of the questions as we could. And we thought, for those of you who either caught the tour or you've seen the live album and some of the live music videos that have just come out, because the tour features music, channeling, speaking, intuitive teaching, storytelling, you might be interested in this. So, for that reason, we are sharing with you something that's usually exclusive to the portal as this bonus episode. It's myself and Davor in Melbourne taking portal members' questions. We hope you enjoy, and I also want to let you know that the Big Love Tour live album is available now, as is the live stream of our Sydney show. So if you wanted to catch this experience, it's a full 3-hour experience. And you'll be able to find it there. So use all the links below the video, but here is myself and Davor in our post-tour haze.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Hello, Davor.
Hello.
Welcome to my portal video diary. I don't think we've ever done one of these before, have we?
We did once somewhere.
Did we?
Yeah, somewhere on the road somewhere we did. I don't
Maybe
remember.
we did.
where.
No, I don't remember
It
either.
was years ago somewhere.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. So there's some ground rules.
Are they?
Yes.
For me or for both?
No, absolutely
it's
for
me.
you. Yes.
Oh my God.
Are you going to be entertaining? Yes or no, please?
Usually I'm not, but
Try hard today.
I'll try.
Informative?
Oh, definitely. I have a lot of valuable information to share.
Respectful?
I can't promise that, but you can cut it out.
Well, it's too late. I've already promised this video and that you're going to be in it, so fine. We'll let you off the rules today. But hello everyone.
Hello.
It's we're in Melbourne, and we're a bit delirious, honestly. We finished the show, the tour last night in Melbourne, and it was a gorgeous night. But we went to a gallery in the last few hours just to kind of change the scenery, and we just said goodbye to our tour crew, and we both said we feel completely out of it. But if we don't do this today, we're flying home from Melbourne tomorrow, and we didn't want to do it remotely from Zoom. So We're going to plow through our deliriousness, but yeah, we've just done like a 3.5 week Australia and New Zealand tour, and it's just a lot to take in. It's a lot to take in. It's going to take some time.
So the only stable thing on this video may be the wall behind
The
us.
wall behind us, yes, yes. And you know, about 2 weeks ago, I reached out to you all and said we were going to do this, and would any of you have any questions for us about the tour or about our work together? And firstly, I just want to say thank you for all the lovely questions, but also some of you didn't ask a question, you just sent a really nice comment. So I won't be reading those out, but
Why not? Because they're about me, right?
no, they're not. No, they were often about both of us. Don't worry, I'll read them to you later.
Good.
If you weren't with us on the Australia tour, I explained to everybody from the stage, have you heard of a HSP, which is a highly sensitive person? Many of us identify with that. Davor is something different. He is a HSE, high self-esteem.
High or huge?
Huge self-esteem.
During the tour, we came from high to huge.
Oh, I knew it would be trouble doing this with you. Okay.
I'm still respectful. Was that disrespectful?
No, you weren't disrespectful. Well, we've got time yet. We've barely started. Let's start with a question. Okay. This is from Patricia. I attended the Adelaide show, and he doesn't know any of these questions, by the way, because I have to do all the preparation work. He just wants to come in and sit down. So he's completely spontaneous. I attended the Adelaide show and loved seeing Lee and Davor. The evening was wonderful. I just wish Lee had come to Perth. Is Perth part of this country? I need to speak my truth from the heart. I believe that Perth is always forgotten in WA, but I feel that there's something special coming for all of us and for WA. I love you all. We had Perth on the schedule, and at the very last minute, we lost our venue. So the way that touring works is you have to plan a whole map, and you can't book the venues, you have to hold the venues. You do something called a venue hold. So we had a venue hold on all of these venues, and what happens is by the time you can finalize and say, yes, please, we'll go green, sometimes someone else snaps them up. So we had a Perth venue, and it got removed, and the only other venue available to us would have been for about 150 or 200 people. And given it was such a long flight and we're bringing a tour team with us, we just couldn't do it. However, we are planning Australia for, touch wood, next September and early October, and I promise you Perth will be on it, and we'll have a lot more lead time. So, but thank you for speaking your truth.
Because also this tour was basically organized as it went. Like first we just thought it's going to be America and Canada, and then we added Europe, and then we added New Zealand and Australia. So those times in which we could hold the venues was pretty short, and that's why it happened. But next time, no, for sure.
And I really pushed for us to do Australia because but yes, and we didn't have as much time as we will now, because now we're planning a 2026 tour for all 3 territories that hopefully will run between about March and the beginning of October in different legs. So
good.
I have a meeting about it on Monday after a day of recovery. Okay, so Susan, dear Lee and Davor, your brotherly love and musical collaboration is a precious gift to humanity. Eternally grateful to you both for live streaming your Big Love tour from Seattle, London, Sydney. Since Boston is Davor's old stomping grounds from the early days at Berkeley, will you consider tour dates here on your next tour in the USA? As a Boston local and an active member of your Portal community, I'd be delighted to assist in any way you're planning concert dates here. Here is the funny news. We were walking through the park from the gallery, and I said to you, should we go to Boston?
And in the gallery is going to be the exhibition for the Fine Arts Museum from Boston, the Impressionists from that museum, which when I was studying, I would go sometimes almost daily to that room if I had time and read books in there. So Boston and especially Fine Arts Museum are like so dear to me that I would love to perform there one day. So
I would love to go there with you and be there in your old stomping grounds. So and here's the thing about the touring, because we're not, when musicians tour and they do a concert, but they're really just doing songs, they can do 4 or 5 shows a week. I mean, it's a pretty brutal schedule, but they're often in a tour bus. I'm very clear that I can't do this more than 3 nights a week. We have once done 4, but because what we do, not only is it like a 3.5 hour experience with an interval, it's energy work. And so we can really only do 3 a week. And we've kind of figured that maybe next year we're going to go for 4 to 5 week tours, which is longer than we've done this year. So it's all going to depend on how many places we can fit in. In theory, I would love to, but it's balancing the work I do for my online communities and touring, and we're figuring it out. But I would also love to do Philadelphia. I love Philadelphia, but a lot of the time I often see on social media people saying, why aren't you coming here? We do the best we can, and we hope that those of you that really want to be there will travel to see us when you can. And we're always amazed how many people put their hands up that they've traveled from outside the city. So thank you to those of you that travel. We're doing as many as we can, and we will continue to increase, and trust that we're always doing as many as we can.
And there's one other thing why we can do only 3 a week. It's not just the energy that you open up to, but it's also the voice, because Lee goes through 3, sometimes it's usually 3 hours and 50 minutes of switching into a singing voice, speaking voice, channeling voice, meditation voice. So that's a lot, like the chords get a lot of different positions. For instance, if you're just a speaker, you are in one position. If you're just a singer, you stay in one position and it's warmed up, when these positions are quite different. So it's also, we have to be mindful that, after 2 weeks, we cannot do our best anymore. So that's also one of the reasons why we want to be mindful of that. So
that's also why we choose to live stream, because that way we can bring people from the comfort of their homes. And also I recognize not everyone can afford to come to a show or travel, or so the live stream is a great way of bringing everyone into the live experience. Kristen, forgive me if this is not clear. I love the energy and the collaboration between Lee and Davor, where what emerges is greater than the sum of the parts. Sometimes I choose to move into slipstreams of energy to gain greater understanding and support. To me, it feels that both of you are clear channels, and working together, it is like a symphony. Does it feel like that to the two of you, that you consciously or subconsciously are riding the same wave in a particular strand of energetic awareness? It's funny, I've said this to you, and you don't love the idea when I say to you that you're channeling your music, but we have such a psychic connection in the way that we work. That's the only way I can describe it. But you feel free to.
Yeah, maybe I'm imagining how channeling for you works, but because to me it doesn't seem like it's coming from elsewhere. It does seem like it's coming from me, which is also like a wider part of me. I don't see it as coming from somewhere else. It's like a co-creation with what I feel, hear, create on the fly. So it's maybe channeling is the word, I don't know, but it's but definitely we are so much in sync somehow. I say to Lee sometimes it's weird, because I'm in the real time, and then I'm like a couple of seconds in front in time when I know, you need to change this sound, and I do it, and I start playing, and it locks with the message. So I don't know how that works. I cannot give a scientific explanation, but it does, like the synchronization and trust into what's coming through you. If you can trust that, that's what we do. That's why it probably feels like it's a one wave creating it, though I don't feel like it's disease putting music through me or something like that.
No, but you know what maybe this relates to is, how with intuitives, there are all different ways that we're intuitive. Some people, the scientific terms are like clairaudience, clairsentience, clairknowing. There are some people who are intuitive through the body. There are some who are intuitive through hearing messages. And honestly, most of us are multiple. Most of us aren't just one. And you have a very good body knowing. You have a very good intuition in that way. And we're we definitely have an intuitive improvisational flow between us that just locks. It's kind of brilliant. I mean, it's great. It's funny when we talk about it, because we go, oh wow, but we don't think about it. It's just, it's kind of like it just happens.
We'll be right back to the conversation in just a moment, so stay tuned.
This is The Big Love Tour, the new live album from Lee Harris and Davor Bozy.
In the seen and the unseen is a rising alchemy we call magic.
Featuring all the songs, some of the stories, a little of your laughter, and the energy of the event brought to life in this recording.
We'll take a 20-minute intermission.
Awaken, awaken to all. I release any energy.
With beautifully packaged limited edition CDs and a numbered edition of 300 vinyl. The Big Love Tour, available now on all streaming platforms.
Karen, brilliant show in Sydney last night. Been looking forward to it all of Q1. We loved Sydney. I mean, there hasn't been one show that we didn't enjoy on any of the tour, but the Australia shows have been amazing. But man, the Sydney Town Hall, that was quite a venue. And the live stream, we're so glad we had 8 cameras film that one. I came alone but felt so blessed. A question for Davor: what types of instruments draw your attention when you're visiting an area?
I don't know, whatever I see in the store. It's usually we don't go to like big music stores when they have guitars and amplifiers and keyboards and stuff. We go to these small local stores that have maybe unique instruments that the local master creates. So something I don't yet have, and like in that moment I can feel, oh, I could use that on this tour for us. So, because I also love to evolve. I love to have something new to play with. So, yeah, we did buy kalimba somewhere. We did buy like a lyra here.
And a zither on this
Zither,
tour.
yeah.
What was the other thing you got? Like a
drum in Santa Fe.
Where did the shell rattle come from?
Oh,
That's
it came
not the right
from
name
somewhere.
for it.
Yeah. I don't know, but also
Anyway,
from somewhere.
We get
in
new
the
toys
middle of
wherever we
the
go.
tour.
Kate, hi Lee and hello Davor. I had the joy and honor of experiencing Big Love with both of you in Asheville, North Carolina last year. And the magic of that night has stayed with me ever since. As a sensitive and channeler myself, I know how much energy it takes to hold space for another person. I can imagine that holding intuitive space for an entire live theatre is quite a different story. How do you resource and recalibrate energetically after each show? Also, do either of you get stage fright, speaking from personal experience as a performer, and if so, how do you mitigate it? And actually Kate says from Asheville, North Carolina, yes, I moved here because of the tour. And thank you for the gift that you both are. Thank you, Kate. Well, before we do the stage fright, let's talk about holding intuitive space for an entire theatre. I'll speak for myself because this is the area I kind of hold for the tour. I think it's got better. The first tour I really didn't sleep, and that wasn't great. I'm normally someone who sleeps 8.5 hours, and on both the first tour and also to some degree the second tour, and then a few of us got sick we were traveling across Europe in January. I really didn't sleep, and that didn't help, because you're already wired. The struggle I often have is the airports. So usually the pattern of a tour is we get to the theatre around 1:00. Our tour team get there before, but we get there around 1:30, and then we're in the theatre usually till midnight. And then the next morning, even though I always make the request that we don't have to get on a flight before noon so that there can be enough time to sleep, occasionally you have an early flight, but even then you have to get up and go through an airport. So some days I can feel quite raw in an airport because of holding space for that opening the night before. He's brilliant for me because he's very protective, and he is, and I mean this in a good way, he's quite solid and bull-like. So he will just kind of march through the airport and I'll just get in his slipstream. Yeah, but it definitely energetically can be a big thing. I feel like on this Australia tour, I've got more used to it. And I've been able to occasionally go to a gallery with him on the morning of a show, which previously I would have to shield myself from, because I would need we're in my hotel room right now. I would need the holding of the hotel room in the morning before getting to the venue and meeting random people. You go to these venues, we don't know the sound engineer, the lighting designer, we don't know the crew at the venue. And I would say 80% of the time, the people you meet at venues are lovely. But 20% of the time, we've had some weird experiences where you get there and the people who work there aren't happy, or it's not a good dynamic for them. And you walk into that, and no matter how friendly you are or nice to them, there was one particular venue, or a couple of venues that we remember very vividly where the sound engineers were just awful, like really clearly unhappy people. But
generally not because
no,
of
not
us,
because of
like
us. They were
even,
unhappy in themselves, but therefore they were quite aggressive and problematic to deal with. And that really is, so that's the first thing you deal with, the randomness of who the staff are. And generally it's great. And our tour crews are generally great at working with them, but you go through all of that, you have to dial in the sound, dial in the lights, dial everything in. That normally finishes about 5 p.m. Then I have time to either sign some books, eat some food, and or gather the themes. I then have to tune in. So it's full on. But I would say that, good people, Davor and the people I travel with really help me. Just being with good people, occasionally taking a night to yourself in a hotel room to just power down. It's been different on every tour, and it's an evolving process, but it's worth it.
Yeah.
It's worth it. The tiring side of it is worth it because it's as well as getting to work with all of you, which is very magical, and to be in that environment where hundreds of us at a time or sometimes 1,000 are expanding. That's an incredible connective experience that is its own kind of fuel when you're perhaps tired or is there anything?
Yeah, no, I wanted to add that, when we get to the theater, we don't know what kind of a sound system is that, what lighting capabilities are there. So each time we have to create the best that we can, not just because of the people, because people are, like, most of the time are great.
Most of the time they're lovely. We've just had a few tricky experiences.
But some of the theaters, maybe, a sounding board maybe doesn't have a DS or doesn't have a compressor, or, I have trouble finding a nice reverb on their existing gear that would fit Lee's voice. So there are things like that are usually a little bit of a stress, but most of the time sound and lights are done in like 2 hours, and then we can relax into it. But it was another thing I wanted to say. I don't know how the question was, but how we cope with
stage fright?
Yeah, not stage fright, the other thing.
How do you resource and recalibrate energetically after each show?
So for instance, when we get into a new city, the first thing Lee does is go to his room. Don't call me, don't bother me. He's in his room, either bathtub or something.
I try and get bathtubs when I can so I can get him water.
The first thing I do is to run out of the hotel,
the last
research,
thing I would do.
Feel the life, go to a museum or whatever. So
after an airport day, I'm like a cat that needs to retreat, and he's
like a dog
I'm going to
needs
explore.
To sniff everything around.
Yeah.
So that's the funny thing. That probably is.
We don't really get stage fright, do we? I mean, we've had, I'd say the very first time we did the show, and which was Santa Monica in June, and maybe London was, I don't think we had stage fright, but I think London, London was a really challenging day
It was
because
scary because we didn't know.
I literally,
Yeah.
I mean, any of you who saw the London show, yes, my speaking voice was croaky. My singing voice was half capable, but 2 hours before that show, I couldn't even sing. Like, it was that bad. So it was that was a nerve-wracking day, and there was just a lot going on at the theatre that day with the live stream and stuff. But I don't know. There's a weird thing, even with London, like I thought to myself, okay, well, this is my voice. We're here, we're gonna have an amazing time, and we're gonna do everything I don't know, I think we feel safe with each other. And honestly, I know you guys. Like, I know who you are. And I've said this before on a different video, the welcome you give us when we walk on stage is unbelievable. It's so sweet. And I worked out pretty quickly that when that round of applause happens at the beginning, it's a thank you for everything that has been done before. Of course, we could still mess up the show. Thankfully,
But
that's
we
never
didn't,
happened.
like,
we don't. No,
no.
we don't. But
We could, but
that's
we
so
didn't.
moving. You know, it's not like walking out to people who don't know who you are or what this is. I mean, I think the show has surprised a lot of people, which is nice in a good way. We had a guy last night, Amrit, a podcaster, a lovely guy in Melbourne, and he and his wife came, and he went, oh my God, I thought it was going to be a seminar, and they came ready to take notes. We love hearing that. We love that people are surprised by this format that we've put together. Because, so...
And then he said that the advantage of music, songs, and of course teaching and channel is that he got to feel for 3 hours and
That's
a half.
what he said.
Not just the mental...
People were safe to feel.
Yeah, not just the mental informations, but you could feel the journey of these 3 hours. So
Yeah. This is from Annabelle, the lovely Annabelle, who we got to see last night from our Soul Magic 88, and we got to see you backstage. It's so wonderful you're visiting us down under, and I'm so looking forward to seeing you in Melbourne. What has been the highlight of your trip? How do you find the energies or people different here in Australia to America and Europe? And it would also be wonderful to hear you describe the earth, sacred land energy here and how you have received it. So, shall we share what we've said from the stage?
sure, yeah.
What we found so interesting, and this really hit me in Byron Bay, and I said it to Davor. We were in Byron Bay, and you know, if you've been to Byron Bay in Australia, it's a beach town, it's a surf town. Most people aren't wearing many clothes, you know, like people are in like their, you know, Speedos or bikinis or whatever. And what I said to Davor that I loved, you saw all shapes and sizes, you saw all ages. What I never saw was self-consciousness. I never saw self-consciousness from anybody. And, you know, I live just outside Los Angeles. You know, in Los Angeles is such a self-conscious town in so many ways. And I think Europe can be. I really loved how embodied people were in Australia. And then I think American audiences, we thought were going to be more enthusiastic than European audiences, just because I thought, well, that's just the culture. Not at all. We went to Europe and you were amazing. Like the welcomes we got, Berlin was off the charts. Like that really blew me away. How, so I think I'm going to say that what surprises me is that our people, meaning those of us who are aligned the way we are, we're actually a lot more similar worldwide than you would think. We're not actually so culturally influenced, but if you observe the cultures in the different cities, you do see the differences. What would you add to that?
No, just that I was very surprised how everybody was beautiful without needing to show it off or feed others with their beauty. They were just like beautiful. So that was something that I noticed like different from Europe, of course. We travel America, or I visit Lee where we work. So I wouldn't consider myself somebody that can really comment on Americans, even though I studied in Boston, but it was like a long time ago, so things probably changed. But yeah, that the simplicity, beauty, and joy of living. I like it. I really, that that part of my tour was the happiest for me, like the most joyful. Maybe also because we have locked it more in and the performances were more.
And we had time off
Yeah,
in Byron Bay, which was
exactly.
amazing.
Yeah,
That was
so-
fantastic. We deliberately scheduled some days off in Auckland before the tour began to get over jet lag, and we had some days off in Byron Bay, which was lovely for us. It felt like being on holiday for a few days, which I wasn't really expecting.
So
But yeah.
I did feel some extra joy here.
Yeah. And I will also say that, my God, we chose probably the worst time to do Europe, first week of January, but the joy of everyone we met on the tour in Europe was so special. So
Yeah,
okay.
but Europe was a little, at least for me, a bit more worrying because you have started to get ill. Like a few shows in, so we like, you know, then it's very hard to just be free and joyful.
That's true.
When
It was a
you worry,
shorter
so,
tour.
Yeah.
It was a shorter tour.
So things like that also, it's not just the people involved.
No,
but, you
no,
know,
no.
the happenings around that.
Anastasia, is there any chance you might do a show or a retreat in Bali in the future? We'll see. Bali's a place I've always wanted to go. I've never been there. We're doing Soul Magic this year, La Jolla, which we're really excited about. I hope we'll do Soul Magic again next year. I don't know. You know, we review everything on a year-by-year basis. As for a show in Bali, we would probably need enough of an audience in Bali to justify taking ourselves and probably 3 touring team members there. So, but never say never, and I really want to visit Bali. Okay, Val, hi Lee and Davor, a rundown of your workflow would be awesome. Are all the ideas from Lee, or is there more of a collaboration with the songwriting? I would guess that Lee would pitch the demos first, but not sure of that. Sometimes someone else could write the song. How much time is spent mixing, mastering a song? It really varies in terms of how we start things. So there are things like To Live Another Day, which I wrote most of that song, 70-80% of that song at my piano, took it to Davor. He came up with the last few lines and the ending, which was so beautiful. Then he'll sometimes give me like a bass track. He'll give me chords and rhythms, and I will put the medicine mantras on top. Typically, the vocal melodies and the lyrics are pretty much my department, but he will weigh in. He will sometimes suggest a lyric change, or he'll say, could we include this in the story? Or he'll say, if you change the melody here, it will change the arc. And then the arrangements are really his department. So all of the layers of instrumentation, and often he plays those himself, or he brings in other people. And then occasionally I will say, oh, can we change that? Or and then we come together on the mixing. So on the mixing is where we both give each other equal opportunity to say no or change things. And so the mixes you hear are kind of a fusion of both of our ears. But for sure, Davor spends so many hours in the studio because the amount of hours that goes into creating a polished piece of music is a big deal.
But there's also another thing why we, or at least I think you too, we see all of our music as our.
Totally.
Because
we just share it.
Yeah, it's like even when I do things, I do them with an awareness, a kind of awareness what Lee would feel like is, you know, works or whatever, and probably you too
I
have
sometimes
me in mind.
think, I don't know if he's going to like this.
Yeah, so it's
Yeah.
we're included even psychically, even if another one isn't there. But what Lee described is basically at the technical side. He would record most of the vocals in Malibu. I would record, basically every instrument in Slovenia. Although we work together now in London.
So I have an apartment in near Windsor in the UK, and I have a small office room there that we just padded so that we can work together. And we actually spent 2 weeks there in February, and we created Medicine Mantras Volume 3. I think we'd never co-written the Medicine Mantras together. It had always been that I had come up with the melodies and the lyrics, and Davor had done the backing. But this was him bringing me this gorgeous bass of water and rhythm, and it's really lovely. And so we decided, let's create them. So they're all new mantras. They aren't old messages from the Z's. And we loved that. It was so joyous to be together and to be able to quickly problem solve. And we stacked so many harmonies from me and different voices. We've never been able to do that before. So that was new for us.
Yeah, because we're together. We
Yeah.
can immediately see what works. And Lee, sometimes you even tell me when you record your vocals in Malibu, you don't know, should I go a little bit
Yeah.
more that direction or that? And then he needs to wait a couple of hours that I wake up in Europe and, get the message back. Is
Please
it
redo
correct?
it.
Or
Can
redo,
you do it?
yeah.
I'm like, okay.
So, but this was way quicker, way more efficient, and when we're together. So we plan from now on to do it that way. Yeah.
One of the things I will say about us is we both have a policy that if the other one really pushes on something, we trust. So if he's like, no, it has to be this, I'm like, okay. And if I'm like, no, we have to remove those violins, he's like, okay. So when it's rare we get into that, but we trust the other one's big no, So that's
Or
a nice
big
thing.
yes.
Or big yes, that's true. Well, we mostly have big yeses. Kim, what is one of the biggest lessons you can say you have had as longtime partners and friends? What is the key to sticking together and creating magic through all these years?
Love, baby.
It's true. It's
Yeah,
true.
it is.
It is true, actually. Yeah. Yeah, we really love each other in a very real way. And I think we've both said this, going on tour together has brought us even closer.
Yeah.
Because especially through all the COVID years, we got to make the albums because we had to cancel all the events. Davor had time that we could start really making the albums from these songs we'd done in workshop rooms. But being on tour together and being on stage together and having to hold space together, it's brought us closer.
Yeah,
So-
you have to be able to lean on each other because, sometimes he will save me out, sometimes I will save him out with something, so it's
and on a
really,
personal level too, like in our
Yeah, of
friendship, we
course.
know
Yeah,
we
yeah.
know everything that's going on in each other's
Yeah.
lives, and we support each other through that. I mean, we tease each other whenever we have an audience, which is funny, but we don't do that when we're alone. Isn't that funny?
we don't do it now. We took it very serious.
Yeah, well, I'm not done with you yet. We'll see. We're not. Although we probably shouldn't go for too much longer because people might get bored. Okay, Cindy, I was curious about how you met and if you've had past lives together, and was wondering if Davor follows Lee's channeling and teachings. Thank you for the incredible work you do together. Thank you, Cindy. Well, I was curious about how you met and if you've had past lives together. We've never looked into that, have we? But
No,
on some level, we must have. I don't think we've ever talked about that.
no,
Did the Z's ever give us a message about that?
I don't think so.
I don't remember. How we met, though, is a funny story that I have shared in Australia. So if you watched the Sydney live stream or any of you were in the Australia shows, I'll try and keep this short. I moved to America. I just made Golden World, the album with Dan Burke in the UK, and I was moving to America. And so I said to the universe, I need a music collaborator in America. Please send me someone I can make my next albums with. And I want it to be a really wonderful partnership. A week later, I had to turn around and go to Vienna to be part of a channeling conference for a group called the Crimson Circle, who'd invited me to speak. And right before I go on stage in Vienna, I'm in the wings and they introduce me to Davor and they say, this is Davor, he's from Slovenia, he's doing percussion for people on stage. Would you like him to do anything for you? And I said, great. I'm going to talk for 40 minutes, then I'm going to channel for about 25. If you could play when I channel, that would be lovely. And he went, okay. So I'll go and I do my talking and then I do the channeling and he plays. And of course, it was lovely. And I go back to the hotel room that night after thanking him when I left the stage. And I'm just thinking of his face comes into my mind. And as I see his face, I literally hear from above my head, the Z's say, you can make an album with this man. And I said, what? The percussionist from Slovenia? And they said, you can make an album with this man. So I was a bit embarrassed because it was only 2012. So I was still British, very British and a bit reserved. And I didn't know, I was like, oh God, how do I say that to him? That's embarrassing. What if, he thinks I'm crazy or whatever? And so the next morning I was singing 2 tracks from Golden World to backing tracks. And he came up to me afterwards and I had my CDs there and everything. And I think you were buying a CD actually.
Of course I was.
Yes, you were. And you started talking to me and I said to him, oh, how long have you been a percussionist? And he said, I'm not a percussionist. And I went, but you were just doing percussion on stage. And he went, yeah, they asked me to, so I did. And I went, oh. And he said, I'm a musician. And I went, oh. And I said, well, funny. I had this message last night that I could make an album with you. Still a bit shy. And he went, yeah, I just told my girlfriend when I heard you singing, I want to make an album with him. So
we literally met on stage.
We met on stage, and isn't that hilarious now? But here's the other funny thing about him. This is a story I've never really told. So at the time, around that time, really most of my work was, I'd only just started doing energy updates on YouTube about a year earlier as videos before they'd been written. And I had a lot of audio out there and some YouTube videos, but not a ton. And I had a lot of audio recordings of the Z's. And about once a year, we would do like a 50% sale in the audio store. And I remember at some point in early 2012 or late 2011, the 2 people that worked for me at the time, Anna and Marty, who still work with me now, Anna sent an email to me and Marty going, oh my God, someone's just bought the whole of the audio store at 50% off. And it was about, I don't know, I want to say 250 or 300 euros.
Which was cheap, otherwise I would have to pay 600.
It was him. And I didn't know this. He didn't tell me this. We'd been working together for about 9 months. And at some point, so he'd listened to all of the Z's stuff, which I actually think it was really cool he didn't tell me. Because quite quickly after we started working on the music album Arise, I said to him, I've been using library music to put underneath the Z's. I would love original compositions. Would you want to engineer for me? I love that he didn't tell me because I might have been a bit more, I don't know. It was very clean, but I laughed when I realized it was him.
Yeah. When I was in Boston.
Should I be refunding you that money now?
No, we're good. We're good. I'm keeping the,
I bet you are.
The yearly profit.
No, I shouldn't have even brought that
like
up. Carry on.
No, when I was in Boston, I was 17 years old, and that was when I met the first channeling in my life. I had no idea that even exists, what it is, but it was going on in a bookstore where I would buy a lot of sound healing books and stuff. So, and when I went back to Slovenia, like online things weren't big yet. So for a long time I thought, is this the only guy that can channel? So I would search on Google, nothing. And then I would come across Crimson Circle through which we met. So I saw they are selling some of the channels. So I bought that. And in one of them, it was a group of you and Wendy Kennedy and some others who were as a part of that channeling thing. So I got to know yours and Wendy's name. So I immediately went there. So it wasn't like I was just so hungry for channeled information. I so much loved it from that memory when I was 17 years old that I grabbed every opportunity. So, and to be able to get like a bunch of channels was just amazing. And I didn't think it's important, that.
No.
It wasn't like I'm your follower or anything.
No,
I would just be grabbing whatever was possible at that time. So
it was very cool.
Yeah.
And he isn't we're both creative obsessives.
We are.
So we go all in. So it kind of makes sense that he bought the whole store because that's the kind of thing I would do too. Okay, so I think we probably have time for one more question. And I want it to be the 528 question. Okay. Rachel, hi Lee and Davor, I hope your travels have been easy. My questions are for Davor about how he attunes his compositions. You've explained in the past about the different frequencies you tune to. I hope I have that correct. That 432 Hertz must have G in the scale and is aligned to Earth. 528 Hertz must have a C and is cosmic. and 444 must have an F sharp and is also cosmic. Would you explain more about this? Why are these specific notes for each frequency? How do you know and figure out which frequency aligns to energetically? What is the Z's frequency? What effect occurs if these conditions are not met?
No, nothing bad really happens. But if you know about bioresonance, when your body gets, or organs get like a frequency into your body, so that your organ or whatever in your body can tune to it, that is where where it helps. And if you want to tune, you remembered a little wrong, or maybe I didn't explain very well. But for instance, if you want to tune, if you want to have a note that plays 528, then you will tune your instrument so that A would be 444. Usually in music, A is tuned these days to 440, 442. Orchestras do 443. We do it 444 for the very reason that then note C will be 528, which is a cosmic frequency. It's also the middle frequency of the Pythagorean harmony of the spheres frequencies. And it's also the frequency of our DNA, which is kind of the core from where our biology replicates and all of that. So that's why we tune it there. 432 is way more earth. I forgot which note exactly you get then. I don't know if it's G, maybe it is, maybe it's C sharp. I'm not sure. F sharp, you have to tune, I don't know where from my head now, but that would be, you would on an F sharp then get a frequency for Jupiter, for the planet Jupiter in abundance and stuff like that. So I did all my calculations. I have all of that at home written down on a couple of pieces on paper. So I always use that especially when I score the channeled messages, because I always go, oh, what is it about? Is it about abundance? Okay, let's use frequencies that connect to Jupiter. Is it about love? I would go to Venus. Is it about art? I would go to Neptune, or a couple of chakras, whatever. So this is where we use that more. But in our like songs and albums, we go for 528. So it means we tune our instrument so that A is 444. If that answers quickly. Yeah.
And then a couple of you asked questions about our routines and how do we keep a daily practice going, and how do we keep our gut biome healthy. You know, for me, it's the gym. And so I try and make sure we always have hotels that have gyms in. But truth be told, when you're on tour, you just have to do your best, because some mornings you're traveling. Food, you know, in Australia, we had this, one of our tour crew, she was amazing. I called her the hunter-gatherer apothecary. She would just hand us things like magnesium drinks. And, you know, there are things that you do, like I've been spraying magnesium on my bottom of my feet at night to help me sleep. And on this tour, it really worked. Yeah, I mean, you love soups, but touring is hard. So it's not your routine. It's not, you have to kind of find ways to sustain yourself. So loads of supplementation, zinc, all the stuff, you know, you just bring as much of it with you as you can. And I have a good friend who is the creator of Shakeology, the protein powder. And she created a formula for me to have every night in the interval. So I have Shakeology with lecithin granules for my brain, bee pollen, and Dr. Schultz's super greens with almond milk. So I would take that in the interval of every show just to kind of, yeah, because it's weird, isn't it, touring? It's not normal life. So you have to try and find your ways to kind of keep yourself stable and yeah.
Yeah, I drink a lot of water, eat a lot of soups. And when Lee goes to gym, I usually go to art galleries. Like art is for me something that wakes me up. I love to be in a surrounding of where other people also put their creativity to. So yeah, I would immediately search where is something that, and like some interesting buildings. I love to see the cathedrals of the cities and stuff like that. So yeah, we do spend mornings a bit differently. Sometimes I go to
Sometimes
gym
I
with
join
him,
you,
or
yeah.
sometimes you
If
join
I've got
in the
enough
gallery.
time,
Yeah.
I like to do, but I love the architecture of
so,
cities and
yeah.
parks, and so you do what you can, but it just all depends on the day and the schedule. But
And humor keeps us going. Like
do we have humor?
you don't,
I know,
but
I don't,
that
but thank
keeps
God
us
you're
going.
here. Well, thank you everyone. It's been thank you for sending in your questions. It's been sweet to do this, and just to give you a little heads up on what's coming down the pike musically. So the Big Love Tour live album comes out today, the day we're recording this, but by the time you get this, it'll probably be next week. So that's out now, so you can hear that was all recorded on the North America, the first leg of the tour. So that captures the energy of the tour. We are working now to finalize Medicine Mantras Volume 3, and as a Portal member, you will start receiving those in July, along with my exclusive energy guides each month. The album won't come out till December, but you'll receive them July, August, September, October, and we're very excited to get these out. There's something different about these, which we're proud of and excited about.
We have a busy year.
We have a busy year. Then we're finishing the Oneness album, which should come out maybe next. Oh, and we also have a Mantra remix album coming.
Yeah.
3 amazing. I asked Entheo, John Patton, and Sean Lukes to create remixes for so far the existing 8 mantras from albums 1 and 2, and they're lovely. So if you like a bit of dance energy, that will come out in September. And of course, Davor and I are going to be at Soul Magic La Jolla. And of course, music will come through the process that week, but we'll also do a special concert one night where we do some songs and some storytelling. And then London, Energy Mastery has just been announced in September. That will be less to do with songs, but we'll sing mantras together as part of the process work. And as I said, we're working on a tour for next year, so lots coming down the pike.
Did I behave?
We'll talk about that when I turn the camera off, but I would give you a solid 5 out of 10. It's not bad.
Better than last
Better
time.
than I expected.
3. I got 3 last time.
Big love, everyone. Take care. Thank you for being a member of the Portal. Bye.
Connection, heart energy, and wisdom. 3 things that members in my Portal community say they receive every single month from the messages, the teachings, and the themes that I offer inside my members community, the Portal. Becoming a member of the Portal is the most intimate way to connect with me and my work every month. If you are just starting your personal development journey or taking a deeper dive, you'll be incredibly well supported by me and my team. I'm now thrilled that we can bring along other teachers, voices, healers to offer you a wealth of support tools every single month. My team and I are committed to sharing content that uplifts, inspires, and connects people to themselves and others. As a member, you also have access to exclusive workshops and special discounts as soon as you join. I do a big broadcast every month called Live with Lee and the Z's, where I channel my guides and they illuminate world events, things we're going through, things to cultivate. And alongside that, we bring a whole host of different video, audio teachings that can help you live your life with more optimism, clarity, and empowerment. I'm very proud of what we've created. I'm very honored to serve you in there, and I hope you'll come and check it out to see if it's for you.